Welcome to Heidi Relationships. Today, we'll read some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. That would help the channel a lot. Thank you very much in advance.
The first one is titled, "My former employer was stiffing me on money. While trying to get what he owed me, I kinda sort of ruined his marriage and probably his whole life. Okay, I don't know that this actually counts as revenge, because I was honestly just trying to get money I was owed. I wasn't trying to drop a nuclear bomb on the guy's life in the process. That's what ended up happening, though. And I was told that my Redditor brothers and sisters here might like this story, so here it is. Some years back I ended up doing work for this guy I'll call Dick. It was just a side job for extra money, not my career or anything. Dick had a small business, it's boring, I won't get into any of that. Before me he had one other employee, so I made two. Just 2 employees, that's how small a business it was. The thing was, Dick ran his business like crap. I didn't know the specifics of his financial situation, but based on where he lived, the car he drove, etc., he was doing pretty well. Maybe it was inheritance or whatever, I didn't know. But his situation clearly wasn't due to this business, which again, he ran like crap. In fact, he ran the business like such utter crap that after about 6 months after I started doing work for him, the business wasn't making money anymore. So instead of regular payments like usual, the other employee and I had to start asking where our money was before it showed up. Then the payments started getting more and more behind. Eventually I was owed around $500. Then one day the other employee tells me, I'm done. He owes me like $5,000 and I'm not going to keep working for nothing. I was like whoa crap, because I had no idea he was owed that much. The trouble with pay clearly went back farther than I knew. So, Dick ended up coming to me and said, look, I owe the other guy money and I need to pay him. Do you mind if I get him all paid up? Which means I gotta hold off on your pay for a month or two. But once he's paid off I swear I'll make it all up to you. Because I'm a ducking idiot, and because I felt bad about the first employee who was a good dude, I said fine, go ahead. So, I didn't get paid at all for a while, which upped my total owed to about $1,500. Then eventually I heard from the other employee, and he told me Dick finally paid him everything he was owed. Great, I thought, now it's my turn. A few weeks after I heard the other employee was paid up, which I only ever heard from him, never from Dick. Dick told me he was closing the business. Which didn't shock me at all, surely it had been losing money for quite a while. I go, okay, so where's my money? And I told him exactly how much he owed me. I got back, well, the thing is, I can't pay you now, but yeah. This went on for a year. I looked into what my steps were legally, but I'd have had to file something in small claims court and it's only $1,500 and having to get a lawyer would probably eat up most of it. So, I just kept bugging Dick about the money. I was like, hey, pay me $25 a month, I don't care. But he wouldn't even do that. He told me about how he's gotta go through all this stuff to dissolve the business and everything, and he'll pay me as soon as he can, and overall, he just avoided taking any responsibility. At one point he said something about how people were currently suing him, big shock. And he'd get me in contact with his lawyers if I wanted so my debt could be added in or something. I said, fine, give me their names, numbers. He never did. Eventually I realized that nothing was ever going to come of this, and I was just gonna be out the money I was owed. But while I'd been doing the work for him, I had emailed back and forth with his wife maybe a dozen times. To this day I've never met his wife, never even spoken with her. Just communicated through email and text. But she seemed really nice, and she'd told me something like, Dick won't tell you this, but he doesn't really know what he's doing with this business, and I know you've been a big help. So, I just got the idea that, you know what, this next email I send Dick about trying to get my money, I'm gonna include his wife on it too. So, she knows how much he sucks. I heard back from her almost right away and she was like, I'm so sorry about this. Please keep me posted on what happens. Then suddenly, magically, Dick started talking about working out a payment schedule. He started sending me $100 every month and the debt got down to $1,000. I figured his wife must have got on his ass about it and I laughed to myself about how whipped old Dick was. But then the money stopped coming again. The excuses started coming again. One day he told me that he was just going through a hard time financially right now, which I knew was bullcrap. He still had the nice car, the nice house, etc. But it's not like I had a printout of his bank records I could call him out on. On that exact same day, he told me that though, I was watching the local pro team's baseball game later that night and who did I see but Dick? In great seats no less, second row right down in front, just off to the right. Every time they zoomed in on a right-handed batter, you could clearly see him. And this was in September in the midst of a playoff race, so those tickets were not cheap. It's no Perry Mason moment, but the thought of replying to his, "I'm having financial trouble," email with a picture of him in those seats and me being like, "Yeah, I can see that," gave me a raging justice boner. So, I was looking for a good image of him to use, but every time I paused the video his face got somewhat out of focus. It was clearly him if you watched the video, but I needed a still image that was also clearly him. Then in the 7th inning a foul ball got caught about 2 rows behind him and they zoomed in on that area of the crowd. And there was Dick clear as day, sitting with his wife. I'm thinking, aha, I got you now, mother ducker. The next morning, I replied to his prior message by sending that screen capture to him. I figured even if I didn't get my money, at least I had that one sweet moment of satisfaction of busting him there. Then almost at the last second I decided to send it to his wife too, just so she knew what was going on and how the money had stopped again. And remembering how quickly Dick's tune had changed that first time I'd included her, I even thought that maybe her being in the picture would make her light an even hotter fire under his ass this time. So, I sent it, but I didn't hear anything back from either of them. 2-3 days went by and nothing. Then I heard from the other employee I'd worked with. He goes, "You hear about Dick?" I said no, what? His wife kicked him out and filed for divorce. I'm like, holy duck, no way. Yeah, apparently she caught him cheating on her. I thought, I wonder how. You know what would be crazy? What if that wasn't his wife in that picture and I sent her that picture? No way. He was probably talking about the divorce when he mentioned having financial trouble. That would make sense. The divorce was already in the works before the picture. Yeah, there's literally no chance whatsoever that I inadvertently told his wife he was cheating on her. I mean, come on. Right? Nope, that was literally what had happened. The woman at the game with him? Not his wife. Apparently his wife knew the woman though and knew that Dick had lied about where he was that night and who he was with. And a crap storm of epic proportions quickly followed. I ended up emailing her not long after and being like, hello there, I've been hearing some things and I can't help thinking that picture I sent might have been part of this. And she said she'd been meaning to contact me, she thanked me, said she'd wanted out of the marriage anyway, and said she might need me as a witness. I didn't know what for, are divorces like trials? But anyway, she paid me the $1,000 he owed me, plus another $500 on top. I don't know if she thought he still owed me $1,500 or if she purposely gave me extra. And I didn't have to be a witness for anything, which was good. Also, Dick's nice car and nice house and all? His wife was the one with the money. Meaning that he no longer has it. They got divorced and he moved away, and I have no idea what became of him. Honestly, considering everything that happened, I feel kinda bad for him. But then I remember there's no reason he couldn't have just paid me. Seriously, why not just pay? He had the money. I just chalk it up to Dick having a lot of negative karma coming his way and I played a part in it catching up with him. Edit. I meant to do this before, but here's some questions people tend to ask after they hear this story. Did I ever hear from Dick after sending the email with the picture? Not a word. Why would he be so dumb to take his girlfriend to a baseball game where he'd be on TV? I guess you'd have to ask him, but I can only figure his wife didn't watch baseball, so he wasn't worried about being seen. And that he was dumb and/or arrogant as duck and didn't think he'd get caught. Do I have any theory on why he wouldn't pay me considering he paid back the other employee the whole $5,000 he owed? It's just speculation, but my best guess is that he thought closing the business would just make it disappear, and when that didn't happen maybe it became some kind of pride thing where he didn't want to give in. Just to answer a few more things, no, I never hooked up with his wife. And about the small claims stuff, I looked back at some notes I have. I didn't have to have a lawyer to go to small claims, but I could have, they weren't disallowed or anything. And I was advised by a lawyer that it would be a good idea to have one, or at the very least that I should have a lawyer go over everything before I went to court. And either way I would have had to pay. The next one is titled, Fire Me Before I Quit? I Ruin Your Life. Since I'm still in school I took a job at a bakery of types which I won't name. The place has bread in the name but also sells overpriced salads and sandwiches. I worked there for close to a year where I had this boss named Betty, not her real name of course. Betty and I didn't get along whatsoever. She had gotten the previous general manager to quit because she had an affair with him, and she threatened to tell his wife if he didn't leave. He quickly left the job, and she was promoted to the position. I didn't like her, but I have to respect the dedication to be the general manager of a small-ass store. When I first started working there I was respectful, but she would do things that would get on my nerves. For instance, I would clean all the places I would be hired to do, and once I was done and relaxed for maybe 5 minutes she would run out of the manager's office screeching, "Why aren't you working?" I would tell her of course I did my job, and as a cashier if nobody is there to help then I didn't have anything to do. She would glare at me, then I would see her, accidentally, drop an entire pot of brewed coffee onto my freshly mopped floor for me to clean. So, I learned quickly to always look busy. Once she realized I was going to kneel and kiss the ground she walked on she started dropping my hours. The store ran on a Game of Thrones type politics for who got promotions and raises. Somehow all her friends were managers and would bully the rest of us. She was barely at work. She would drive to my job clock just in case corporate decided to check her hours. So, she was essentially stealing hours. When you clocked in it printed out a small piece of paper telling when you clocked in. She would just drop them on the floor for me to clean up. I would usually pick them up and stick them into a pocket. So, this led to me finding Betty clock in and out stubs in my pocket at my house. This will be important for later. Did I mention she was super racist? She was white and most of the staff were my fellow high school peers who were all mostly POC. One day at work she walked out and told us, "When you're on the clock I own you." When we all reacted to look at her she backpedaled and was like, "I didn't mean it like that." This will be important for later. So, after a while I got sick of practically begging for hours so I went to my current job. But decided I merely wanted to drop my hours. Which were already barely a day a week. But suddenly when I got my new job, she scheduled me every single day of an entire week. She never did that even when we were on semi-good terms. So, I obviously told her I had a new job and couldn't do this. After that I went home and called my friend who was still working there to tell him I was going to quit tomorrow. He has a bad habit of putting his phone on speaker when he's cleaning at work. So, Betty overheard this obviously. The next day I walk in and go through the respectful motions of saying, "Thank you for the opportunity and blah blah blah." Betty let me get through the entire speech before she said, "Oh, yay, I was meaning to tell you. You're fired." I was so blindsided and pissed I cussed her out. My mom raised me to treat women with respect, but this ducking fat overweight hippo-looking witch pissed me off. She's the type of girl to think binge eating was a personality trait. So, I left and was mad about being fired before I could quit but didn't push the issue. I'm only 18 and I already had another job. I wasn't expecting Betty to give me a good reference anyway. I would have completely left it alone if it wasn't for the district manager Ben, not real name, texting me. The revenge. He thought I was still working there so I explained to him I was fired. He was stunned due to the fact that I was a decent employee. He asked why she let me go and I explained it to him, and he was angry. He clarified that she fired me before I quit, and I said yes. He was pissed that she did this and asked if there was anything else she might have done. I kind of just vented to him for a bit. When I told him about the racist remark, he asked if anyone else would collaborate with me. I forgot to mention that she slowly fired and forced people to quit and replaced them with her friends and family. Which according to company policy she couldn't do. Something about conflict of interest. I asked all the people who were working that day if they could, and a few said they would say they did. But one did even better. My one coworker Andy is convinced he's the next big vlogger, so he always has his phone out or just using audio recording for hours for a chance to catch a funny clip. I've watched his content and let me say it's just super cringe. But turns out he labels each recording by the day and times. So, when he checked he found her making racist remarks. I got a brilliant idea, and with my other fired or coworkers forced to quit, we decided to scour Andy's recordings. We found some great moments of Betty saying controversial things or just being nasty. Like once a guest sneezed on the baked pastries, and when a coworker told her, she laughed it off and said nobody would know. But this wasn't enough for me. I try to avoid conflict, but when I'm in a situation I'll follow it through. I looked her up on Facebook and found out she was married. Nobody knew this, so when she had the affair with the other manager and basically blackmailed him, she was also married and cheating. I don't think anyone ever cared enough to find out because she was a nasty old lady. So, I found the old manager's Facebook and found out he and his wife were separated. Turns out even after he quit, Betty was still trying to blackmail money out of him. When he didn't, she told his wife anyway, causing his wife to divorce him and basically leave him to go back to live with his parents. I did some research, and in my state blackmail or extortion is a third-degree penalty, which has a max of 7 years in prison with a fine over 10 kelvins to the victim. So, I told the old manager what my plan was for her. He agreed to call the cops on her, but I asked if he'd wait until I finished my part first. He said he'd give me a week. So, I met with District Manager Ben and showed him all our evidence. The recordings and the written statements from my other ex-coworkers and people who were still working there. I also gave Ben the slips of paper when Betty clocked in and then left and returned 8 to 10 hours later to clock out. Ben thanked me for the information and then I left. A few days later, while walking past the store, I noticed it was closed in the middle of the day. I texted a guy who still worked there and he told me everything. Turns out Ben first checked the security cameras to see if she was there for the full time she claimed to be. Big surprise, she wasn't. So, Ben decided to investigate the store's expenses, since if she's lying about her time, what else could she be stealing? He found out she was stealing money from the store. The guy didn't fully explain how she was, but just that she was. Turns out she was breaking a lot of health and safety codes and used the money for repairs and etc. for herself. So, she was fired immediately along with all of her minions, and that left barely anybody to run the store. They shut down to clean up the store and fix things she didn't make. So, she's out of a job, and Mark told her husband with photo proof, granny nudes, that she cheated on him. But Mark phrased it, so it seemed like she still was. So, Betty's husband flips out and decides to divorce her, and Betty is the type to post everything on Facebook. So, she's begging someone to let her stay, but all of her friends and family totally bailed on her. So, she was living in her car looking for a job. That's when Mark decides to sue her for extortion, so she scrambles to find a lawyer, and to make it even worse, the company decided to sue her for all the money she stole and plus all the repairs and lost revenue while the store is closed. Betty's life is crap. She had to sell her car for drastically under what it's worth to pay for all the legal trouble. Mark told me bits and pieces of her crying in the courtroom, but not too much. I was never super close with him. Last I heard of Betty is she was living with her sister, who definitely hates her. To think she would have avoided all of this if she just let me quit. This is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the relationship stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video and write a comment. I really appreciate your support and it helps my channel so much. Thank you.